Contrarians, welcome back to the Encrypted Capital recap for Tuesday, February 1st. So first off, we're going to take some questions from our Discord. We had a couple questions that you guys wanted answered, so we're going to get into that, go into some of the charts, and cover some of the news that's been going on the last week. I got my partner Rocky here with me,
Yo.
and so he's going to rattle off some of these questions, and then we'll go at it. So first off, I think the first question that was asked was if we were going to be having a lengthening cycle, and I think the pretty obvious answer to that is yes. I had charted this back out a little while ago, and I have it on the monthly now, just so you guys can kind of see what it is we're talking about here. So some stuff, it's not going to show up as well, like these halvings and stuff back here. But generally speaking, I do think we are getting an extension in the cycle. I initially had mapped this out, and this white line here was where if we followed the exact timeline as the previous bull run, which was about 1,461 days, that would have had us end like right around the second week of December. And so obviously, we're starting the month of February right now after 3 solid months of decline. And so, yeah, I do think we're going to get taken out a little bit longer. There's a good chance that we may be extended like another, I don't know, 10%. So that would be about 140 days or so. And last cycle, like around October, November, was when we really started to see things move. And so I think that in all reality, most likely February, I am anticipating to be a greener month than we have seen. The fact that we did have 3 months of straight decline does make it seem like we are kind of due for a nice push up here. I know that we've been having some pretty positive news coming out here regarding, Russia. I know that Putin had reversed his take on cryptocurrencies. We got some partnerships coming up with XRP that we'll talk about. And I just think that in all reality, we're due for a push to the upside. We've had max fear for like the last 2 to 3 months. And, I think that we should start seeing some green on the board. And we're already starting to see some altcoins really start moving to the upside. But we are looking for those crazy, like, I don't know, 30, 40, 50% gains in a day for, let's say, 10 to 15 cryptocurrencies in the top 100. We still have yet to see that. If we go over here, we can see what's leading the pack right now. We got Solana is up 11.4, Quant, and a few others. One that I have been keeping my eye on a lot is Tezos. I'm going to take this off the monthly here. Or actually, I could leave it on the monthly. You can kind of just see this trend line that's been building. It's really been respecting it quite a bit. And this chart only goes back to the end of 2019 or so on Binance. But you can see that, it basically wicked down last month and it got completely bought up. And so now we're starting to see some positive increase in Tezos and a few others. Still really like Bitcoin Cash and some of those other assets that are in the grayscale portfolio. I know Zcash is one of them as well. And so, yeah, I think that we should hopefully, we are getting an extension in the cycle, and I do think that we're going to start seeing February become a positive month. Do expect some volatility, but I am looking for some of those bigger crypto assets like Bitcoin Cash, Ethereum Classic, Dash, and a few others to start moving to the upside here. So what was the other question that he had? He was talking about, I think, Metaverse.
Well, first of all, when you're talking about the news, I always worry just because the reaction of the crypto market to negative news is so swift and so large in its swing down. One of his questions that I think we all worry about are the regulation that is upcoming. Mm-hmm. I know there's an executive order, rumor coming from Biden that would put some taxing on the space. So what are your thoughts on the regulations coming up and what does it mean, he was asking, for the market?
Yeah, I think that this article is just a little clickbaity. It does say that the Biden administration is looking to release the executive order on crypto as early as February. But when you kind of drill down into it a little bit, you can just read the first paragraph. It says that they're writing an executive order for release as early as next month that will outline a comprehensive government strategy on cryptocurrencies. But really all they're doing is they're asking the federal agencies to determine their risks and opportunities. So it's not like they're going to impose regulation next month, and they did say as early as next month. And we know the government is notorious for pushing things back. I mean, just look at what Powell did with the Fed and the interest rate hikes, and how he pretty much got a neutral position from the Fed when that was really built up to be a pretty hype day as far as what was going to take place for the stock market and cryptocurrencies going forward. So, it says that the directive would place the White House in a central role overseeing efforts to set policies and regulate digital assets. But how long is that regulation going to take? Like, yeah, they're going to go ahead and they're going to analyze and determine the risks and opportunities, but how long do you think it's going to take to actually go and implement any sort of regulation? So, yeah, this is a news article, but you tend to find out that like a lot of these news articles that are negative for the crypto space, they do tend to come out at the bottom of a market, and the really hype news stories tend to come out at the top. I mean, if you go ahead and you look back at Bitcoin and when the Coinbase IPO took place, that was literally the very top of the market at like what, 64K or so. So, the max hype events and the max fear events do tend to fall at tops and bottoms. And so I wouldn't put a whole lot of weight on this. I think that it's meant to maybe get people thinking and maybe get people scared that, they're going to lose all their money if they start deeming these cryptocurrencies securities and whatnot. But even if cryptocurrencies are deemed securities, it doesn't really necessarily mean that the price is going to crash or drop. It just means that there's security and there's going to be some other rules to follow, but it doesn't still mean that they can't play a role in the crypto space. And so, I think this article is a little clickbaity, and, we'll see what comes out, this month, but chances are I wouldn't be surprised if it starts getting pushed back or if, there's a neutral position on it, just like the Fed had with the interest rate hikes. So.
Sure. And a lot of the news cycle is talking about the metaverse, and one of the questions was, I mean, and I don't want to be naive, as maybe I was, back when Bitcoin was first coming out, to, just completely not give a look to metaverse because it seems strange. It seems, a little out there. But what are your thoughts on the metaverse, kind of the gaming tokens and the way, that world's starting to ramp up?
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty interesting. I think when it comes to the metaverse, obviously a lot of people, especially like me, having been in lockdown for so long, they're going to be looking to go ahead and maybe have another outlet or another release when it comes to participating in the metaverse. I think that there is some validity to it as like VR and gaming, and it's basically taking gaming and reality to a whole nother level. And I do think that you are going to have some pretty big players like Decentraland playing a huge role in the metaverse. As for now, I do think a lot of it is obviously very, very much hype based. I do consider like the metaverse tokens and NFTs as well as this bull cycle's ICO craze, where you had all these ICOs raising a ton of money and a lot of them went to shit. A few of them survived, but generally speaking, it was a massive hype train. And that's kind of how I'm looking at like these Bored Ape NFTs and this other bullshit that's kind of coming down the pipeline here.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
It's like there's so much hype around these things, and really, what are you buying? What are you owning? Are you just buying it because it's been hyped up by an influencer, or is there really like some value that comes along with it? So I think I mentioned this in one of the other videos, but let's say you're a band and you're having a NFT released for the artwork for the album that you're releasing, and then attached to that NFT is, you get to go to the record release party, or maybe you get a discount on tickets to see the band, or whatever the case might be for holding those NFTs. I think there's value there because you're getting a little bit more than just some digital piece of art that anybody can own. I think that there is value there. But as far as these images that are just being sold online, if there's nothing really attached to them, I mean, how do you really value that? I mean, it's basically just what is the next person willing to pay for something like that? And I think a lot of people are probably going to get burned. I think there are going to be people that obviously make a ton of money in it, but more than likely the people that are really going to cash in are the artists and the groups behind them that are minting these NFTs. If they can get their wealthy circle involved to really push the price up, I mean, it's going to just be like crypto, where you're going to have a bunch of people holding the bag after that asset has gone up and done a 10, 20, 30, 40, 50x. What's really left? It's going to provide a lot of exit liquidity if you get a lot of people on board that are buying it because, Gary Vaynerchuk is pumping it up on his Twitter or his Instagram or whatever. So,
well, talking about Gary V, started a restaurant NFT called the Fly Fish Club. And so you could buy into it, and it's a members-only dining club. set to open in New York in I think 23.
So again, with the value being attached to the NFT, I think I would rather buy something like that than just, some piece of digital artwork that has
Right.
nothing attached to it. I think there
I
really
agree.
needs to be some value built into it. And it's almost like a stock where it's paying dividends for holding it, right? So, I think the real value for the NFTs is really going to be like on the real estate side of things, where you can go ahead and tokenize a building and you can maybe sell your building on the blockchain a lot quicker than you could the traditional, um, I guess, format that takes place for buying and selling a house. It normally takes a couple months and whatnot to close. But if you can sell it on the blockchain, the contract's built in. I see the value for it. But it's such a new space, and I feel like so many people are rushing in because they see their favorite influencers pumping it up. That really, I mean, the average Joe is just providing the exit liquidity for these guys that have decided to go ahead and mint these NFTs. So, I kind of stay in my lane. I know what I do well. I know what I do best, and that's going to be investing in undervalued assets in the crypto space. I think I'm not going to be one to maybe go and dive into the NFT space and start, risking my money on learning. I've already risked my money enough in the last decade in cryptocurrencies where I know what to look out for and know how to not get burned. I'm not as well versed in the NFT land, so I think that's something I'll probably shy away from just because, I think it's more advantageous for me to stay in my lane and do what I know best versus try and dabble in some uncharted territories because, a guy I like is promoting it. So
So you don't want to buy any land in the metaverse?
not yet. Maybe it depends because like the NFT space has an inverse relationship to the crypto space. So if crypto's going up, generally speaking, NFTs are going down and vice versa. So maybe I'll dabble in it once I don't care. If it's a good chunk of money that will get me some sort of, like I said, dividend style paying NFT. Maybe I'll mess around with it, but for right now, it's just not worth my time, especially since we're waiting for 90% of these altcoins to take off and make their move. It's not worth it to me to risk it. So,
For sure.
but yeah, on that front, I mean, Mana, I mean, you got Barry Shilbert over there. He's part of Decentraland, and obviously he sees value in it, and I think that these guys are architecting the space, and I think that the influencers that they can get a hold of to help pump up and get people involved are going to be what drives the price up. It's not going to be because this asset is great and it has a ton of value uh, right off the bat. I think it's just going to be because they bought in low and they're going to sell high, and they need to get influencers on board to do just that. So,
Cool.
so yeah, let's see what else we have here. We talked about Biden. I wanted to bring up, so Sheila Warren dropped this in the newsletter the other day. She's leaving the World Economic Forum to lead a crypto lobbying group. And if you guys don't know about the World Economic Forum, we talked about this yesterday in our newsletter. We did a little brief synopsis on this, and we basically said that in this paragraph here, I'll kind of just read it so you guys get an idea, but it says Warren, who is based in San Francisco, will be responsible for leading the discussion on crypto on behalf of the CCI by communicating its benefits to policymakers and regulators. And it says the CCI was formed last April by founding members from Block, Coinbase, Fidelity, and Paradigm, and includes Andreessen Horowitz as a board member. So it says we're in a critical moment for the crypto ecosystem, and the regulations and policies that emerge in the next 18 months to 2 years will shape the trajectory of the entire crypto ecosystem far into the future. And what I wanted to note, what I thought was the most important thing, was coming from the Central Intelligence Agency acting director, Michael Morrell. And he's explaining how potential money launderers using Bitcoin for crime were likely to move away from the cryptocurrency because every transaction is recorded and visible to all. And I said that in our take here that we wrote right below it. I said, read that last sentence again, because we've been saying this for quite a while now. BTC can be tracked and traced and is not being used as it once was intended by Satoshi in 2009. And so we talked about the World Economic Forum. They're funded by 1,000 member companies, and all those companies are global enterprises, and they have more than $5 billion in turnover. So basically, in turn, these enterprises are leading the world down whichever path is suitable for them and their business. So you got to keep that in mind. Why is this woman from the World Economic Forum crossing over into basically lobbying for crypto, right? You got to ask yourselves these questions. What is the value there? And it's because, they obviously see an opportunity in crypto, and that's why they're pouncing on it. And I think that crypto has been the plan all along. And as we start to see these big groups get into it, like the World Economic Forum, it just kind of reinstates the fact that, maybe Bitcoin wasn't everything that it was intended to be, because now it's only used as a store of value. It's not fast. It's not that scalable. It's slow. And in all reality, essentially the reason I got into it was going to be peer-to-peer anonymous transactions that turned me into my own central bank that was supposed to be used daily, right? But I mean, I can't even go buy a cup of coffee with Bitcoin. It takes too long to clear. And chances are the fees are too high, right? So it doesn't really make much sense to use right now. And this is kind of where we get into like those whole, like the whole Colonial Pipeline incident where the attackers were asking for ransom in Bitcoin. Well, anybody who has, any knowledge of cryptocurrencies in general, like you would have asked for something like Monero to be paid out in, because Bitcoin can be tracked and traced. So you have to ask yourselves, like, when you see these news articles come out about ransomware attacks, et cetera, are these false flags that are meant to get us to another point in cryptocurrency where essentially we're now going to be asked, forced, or coerced into using cryptocurrencies that are approved by the state or the government? And so those are all, some kind of critical thinking questions that you kind of have to ask yourself. What is really the purpose of Bitcoin? Why is the Satoshi anonymous? And who could be Satoshi? And so I just think it's noteworthy to point out that you do have these big players from the World Economic Forum getting into the crypto space. And so, who knows what the real end game is? I could be wrong, but I think I probably fall somewhere in the middle here. So yeah, I want to touch on that. And then again, with the World Economic Forum, they have the meeting in Davos, and these guys are basically deciding the policies that are going to be implemented for the world, essentially, and have their leaders carry out these plans. And so, pretty interesting. You guys can go dive into this stuff. I'm not going to get too far into it again, but it's pretty fascinating how much influence these guys actually have and these businesses have on day-to-day policies for us. So. Also, let's see. So Bank XRP, they tweeted this out. Modular and Ripple, they announced a strategic partnership to enable seamless payments into the UK and Europe. And so I went into Modular here just to kind of do a quick little dive on them. And so basically together, these two fintechs are going to be making it easier than ever for businesses like Trust Payments to run real-time payments internationally, powered by Ripple's finance technology, RippleNet. And so, if XRP was the security, and, it just kind of begs the question, why would these big companies like Modular be wanting to partner up with a company like Ripple who's battling their own lawsuits with the SEC? Why would MoneyGram want to go ahead and partner with Ripple and not do their due diligence? What's really the story here? I think that once this case does get settled, or there is some sort of final judgment, and Ripple's not going away. XRP is not going away. XRP can't survive without Ripple. And I think that kind of just goes to show that it's not a security, because nowhere did I ever buy XRP thinking I owned a piece of Ripple, the company. That's not how that works. And so, but pretty big news for Ripple. I think they're definitely taking a step in the right direction. And I wouldn't be surprised if we start seeing some more positive news come out here for Ripple and XRP over the coming months here. And I do think, I want to go on record and state this, I think that XRP will move to the upside fairly drastically without a settlement. I think in all reality, the settlement will most likely provide the exit liquidity for this next run-up. Just kind of like we saw with Coinbase, everybody being hyped up on Coinbase, that provided the exit liquidity for Bitcoin. And I have to tend to think that most likely the exit liquidity will come from a judgment in Ripple's favor. And so I'll put that out there, and that's kind of what I think is going to happen here.
Do these lawsuits from the SEC always take this long? Or are they dragging it out for some reason?
I don't know. I mean, they went to trial fairly quickly. I mean, it was filed in December, and I feel like they they were in trial within months. Correct me if I'm wrong. Leave a comment below, but it pretty much happened almost instantaneously. So that kind of goes hand in hand with the fact that is this just all a way for the powers that be to capitalize and get more market share by forcing the retail traders out? Because the timing of the SEC lawsuit, it literally took place 2 weeks after you had the airdrop taking place for Songbird, right? Literally 2 weeks later, the SEC wanted to come down and drop the hammer on Ripple, and Coinbase was facilitating the ability to go ahead and participate in the airdrop. And did Coinbase not do their due diligence? I mean, they run their own Howey test for all these other assets, all these other no-name assets that no one's ever even heard of. Yeah, Ripple's the one that kind of catches the heat. So, I think that Ripple and XRP have the most utility, and I think it's probably going to be one of the most valuable assets, which is why they kind of got everybody on board with the airdrop. And then 2 weeks later, they forced everybody out of the market, captured that market share, and now they're just kind of sitting on it. And they got all the time in the world to kind of let all this play out in their favor. But I wouldn't be surprised, like I said, if the exit liquidity comes with the lawsuit, maybe hit $4, $6, $8 before the real settlement kicks in. So who knows? But that's just my theory. That's my opinion. We'll see if that kind of
Holding you to it.
comes into fruition here. But it's just a thought I have, because what, they're gonna go ahead and come out with the settlement of the lawsuit when it's at like what, $1, $2, and then everybody buys it up, and maybe it goes to 10 or $13, and then that's the exit liquidity. I don't know. It could go either way, but that's my theory. Sticking to it, and we'll see how it plays out here. No, I do not want to stay up to date. So next, I dove into some of the people's LinkedIn here that are running modular. Didn't find any crazy ties to like any governments or any big businesses that like you normally find with some of these other guys. But this is their team here. You guys can go ahead and check these guys out on their page. And so next, I want to bring this up because we just talked about privacy in Bitcoin and how there really isn't any privacy because it can be tracked and traced. But this gentleman over here, Murtaza Hussein, said that Bitcoin protects privacy and fights oppression, which I thought was hilarious because you had that other article that was saying that money launderers were going to get out of using Bitcoin because it can be tracked and traced. Yet this gentleman over here clearly didn't do his research and is now thinking that Bitcoin is going to be a way to protect privacy and fight oppression. I don't know how that can be when basically you can see exactly what's happening on the blockchain and there is no privacy element put into Bitcoin. So you guys can go ahead and check out the rest of the article, but it's no exaggeration, he says, to say that without privacy, individual freedoms cannot long survive, and the battle for privacy in the digital age is now headed to its newest and perhaps most consequential stage with the emergence of CBDCs. And so kind of tying back to CBDCs, I think that you are going to have a United States, whether it's going to be like the Fed coin or, we know that with the USDC that was made by Coinbase and Circle, who was funded by Goldman Sachs. Do we go that route for USD coin? Who really knows? But I can say that if you are looking for privacy, you're not going to be using Bitcoin. You're going to have to go with the likes of Monero. That is the most popular privacy crypto. And I do believe, actually, let's go take a look at Monero and kind of see where XMR is at, because I believe that it really hasn't done a whole lot compared to some of these other assets here. So now trading at $145. Let's see. Yeah, I mean, pretty much accumulation range. Definitely would be a nice entry here. I mean, you're going to talk about probably being down, 70% or so? 72% from the highs. This is where I would like to be entering in positions right here in anticipation for a rally higher. Like I said, it really hasn't done a whole lot, but it was once trading, for going back to March, when COVID hit, $22. So you're still up nicely. You're up 7x even from the lows and with this crazy retrace. So yeah, Monero, privacy coin. If you're a hacker, that's where you'd want to be at. That's what you want to be accepting, not Bitcoin. So let's see what else we got here. MicroStrategy, buying the dip, 660 Bitcoin. Cool. And you know how we feel about Michael Saylor with the stupid laser eyes. Don't really care for him. So I don't know. We'll go on to the next article here. Kanye West says no to NFTs. Basically said he's focused on building real world products, food, clothes, shelter. Ask me later. We'll see if he flips on this. But yeah, I mean, like I said, we don't. It's too new of a asset class for us to really start dabbling in and wasting money on when we know what we can get with crypto. India, they've kind of been going like flip-flopping, going back and forth on if they're banning it, if they're legalizing it. Now they're leaning towards legalizing it with a 30% tax. And then they want to announce a digital rupee, which is huge. I think you will see a lot of these assets for these, or I should say a lot of these currencies for these countries start getting digitized. And we know that China's going that route. You know, obviously the U.S. has been talking about that as well. So I think it's only a matter of time before they do digitize everything, even though everything already is kind of digitized with the debit cards that we're using. It's all ones and zeros on a screen anyway. But I think it just goes to show that whatever asset they do decide to release for a U.S.-backed digital currency, I mean, you're talking about being, you know, tracked, traced, and taxed, most importantly, on every single transaction. It's a really good way to keep track of everything and what you're spending. So I don't think fiat's going to go away completely, though. And then we talked about this in a newsletter. Cryptocurrency exchange FTX, its $32 billion valuation, despite bear market fears. This is pretty big. I was talking about this with you yesterday.
Yeah.
Company started in 2019, and they're crushing it. This guy, Sam Bankman-Fried, with his crazy-ass hair, I mean, he's really done wonders with this company. Last Series C funding round, you know, $32 billion valuation is massive. And they have, the arena where the Miami Heat play. They've partnered with Tom Brady, his wife Giselle, Kevin O'Leary, Steph Curry. I mean, all in literally the course of, 2.5 years or so.
Well, in really like 6 months. I mean, it really blew up at the World Series. You know, they had their ads on the mound. I mean, they were everywhere. It just kind of popped off.
Yeah, I mean, you got some big money, some deep pockets behind FTX. This exchange is just, I mean, I don't think I've seen, this is probably one of the fastest growing crypto projects. And not to mention, Ripple just had a new valuation come out. It was like $15 billion, and now they're worth twice what Ripple is worth. So kudos to Sam Bankman-Fried, man. This guy is a beast, and he himself, I think, is worth like $8 to $10 billion or so. So I don't know.
No bigs.
Yeah, pretty interesting. Definitely big things on the horizon for these guys. I know they're trying to get different licenses and whatnot to really start growing and building their company out even more. But I mean, this guy has really turned FTX into an absolute powerhouse. And the funny thing is, you can't even trade in the U.S. with it. So it says that function is provided by FTX US, which is the sister exchange. And so, crazy times, man. This is good for the crypto space in general, though. So, I think in short, we should see hopefully a green month here for cryptocurrencies. Definitely keeping an eye on Tezos and a lot of the ones that are in the grayscale portfolio. Still really think Bitcoin Cash is attractive just because you got Roger Ver behind it. And that guy owns Bitcoin.com, and he's been an evangelist for Bitcoin for forever. And so I'd be looking to really start seeing a lot of these assets. We sent that out in the newsletter, link below. A lot of those assets that we put out for our members, I mean, they were 70 to 90% off. And we did mention to our members last week which assets we were dollar cost averaging into and why we were dollar cost averaging into those. So if you guys want to get some trade updates along with some exit strategies as well as the positions that we're taking in our portfolio moves, you guys can go ahead, sign up in the link below. I think that will do it for this edition of the Encrypted Capital Recap. If you guys like what you heard, please drop us a like, comment, and subscribe, and we'll catch you all in the next video.